Hey, speak for yourself, listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now, let's start the show.
Marcellus, man, Wiley, and Emmanuel Immaculate Acho. Let's pause right now. Moment of greatness right here.
What is it, bro? This is a basic suit, I feel.
Whenever someone does all this, they lying. All right, all this crunching up. You ain't have to get small to accept the compliment.
Thank you.
You look amazing. Please show America the buttons.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, it's a little something. Shout out to my dog, Soto. He get me right, bro.
Finally giving some love to the stylist. All right, let's start right now with our top story. Delivered by Pizza Hut. Order today at pizzahut.com. I will tonight. Tom Brady is a big reason why the Bucs are making their first playoff appearance since 2007 when they faced Washington on the road Saturday. Brady was GOAT-like this season with a top 3 finish in touchdown passes and yards. But a lot is expected from the player with the most Super Bowl wins of all time. Bruce Arians said recently is, quote, Super Bowl or bust for Tampa. So Acho, Immaculate, does Tom Brady need playoff success to validate his season?
Oh, no question about it. And Sal, you and I, we go back and forth on this topic. So I'm going to put you in your lane and I'm going to put me in mine.
Okay.
And I'm going to have a conversation that should make this so clear for us both.
Lane five.
Runners, take your marks. Sal, you were drafted in the second round.
Yes, 52.
You were drafted in the second round, 52nd pick overall. Mm-hmm. I was drafted in the 6th round, 204th pick overall.
My dog.
You being drafted in the 2nd round, you got to get, about 10 sacks in the first couple of years, I would hope, to qualify that.
You. I didn't.
But you did eventually.
You added them all up. Okay, eventually I got
you
there.
had a 10.5 sack season, a 13.5 sack season.
I got
because in order for a 2nd round defensive and pass rushing specialist
here we go.
to be quantified as a success, I better see some double-digit sack seasons, please.
I'm listening.
Because you were a 2nd round pick. In order for me, a lowly 6th round pick, 204th overall, to be quantified as a success, I would hopefully just stay in the NFL for a couple of years. Maybe start a game or two, eventually contribute in some capacity. Because based upon your draft status, based upon the perception you have of where you were selected, the perception of who you are, that dictates what success is. The only way that Tom Brady can be seen as successful in Tampa Bay is if they have masterful and major playoff success. Not just one playoff win. Why did I say that? So, the last decade, the last 11 years for Tom Brady, he only won 11 games. That means he won 12 games or more every year except for 3. This year, he won 11 games. So that's not successful, comparing Tom Brady to Tom Brady. If on average he wins 13.3 games, but this year he only won 11, that's not successful. Now, Tom Brady, he didn't set a career high in touchdown passes. Didn't set a career high in completion percentage. Didn't set a career high in touchdown percentage. So if you're comparing Tom Brady to Tom Brady, it's not like he did anything individually, which he hasn't done before. Now, I mean, he did throw 12 interceptions, more interceptions than he's thrown in the last 10 years, but I digress. So how can Tom Brady be viewed as successful in Tampa if he does something which we expect him to do? We expect Tom Brady to go to Super Bowls. And when he goes to Super Bowls, 6 out of 9 times he wins Super Bowls. That is what we expect. So that is what dictates success. Winning 11 games, successful for Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, successful maybe for Antonio Brown. But winning 11 games for Tom Brady, that's scoring a C for him. So it's only successful if they get some playoff success.
Are you worried? A little bit. You don't know what I'm coming with right now because you felt like you closed all doors. There's no way into this, right?
No way. I bolted one.
And you bolted one. Where you live? You had to put the bolt up. Okay. You know why you feel comfortable but not super secure even though you bolted all the doors? Because the answer's right before your eyes. I'm already in there. You use my word that I'm going to use against you to prove my point. The word success. You said it about 7 times. You should have said it even more. What is deemed success? Tom Brady doesn't need to do a damn thing in these playoffs to earn that this year was a successful year for him in Tampa. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to use Tom Brady against Tom Brady. Who is Tom Brady? Well, in terms of accolades, he's the most decorated NFL player ever. Not even a conversation, ever.
Yes, sir.
Okay, he's successful. Now, him being the GOAT, we wonder what's the criteria? What were the qualifications to become the GOAT? Oh, we got to dive into his resume. And it's not just 6 Super Bowl rings or 9 Super Bowl appearances. That's for any casual fan drunk at Hooters talking about. Let's do our...
Why they got to be at Hooters, bro?
Why not at Hooters? I mean, I don't know. I'm married. I
put them in Chili's?
The food's better at Hooters
You're
and other
yourself.
stuff.
You're telling on yourself.
And when this pandemic's over, I'm going to tell on myself again. I'll be back. Here's the thing. Let's talk about Tom Brady's resume deeper than the surface level. I have a full screen that I'm proud of that's called GOAT Wars. And I want to look at this full screen to show you who Tom Brady is in respect to some other GOATs out there. Tom Brady, in 21 seasons, has missed the playoffs 3 times, healthy or not. Soon as he started in New England to now in Tampa, 3 different years he missed the playoffs. And in 3 other years, he was one and done. Let's look at the GOAT before him, Joe Montana, 16 years. He missed the playoffs 5 different times, and 4 other years, he went to the playoffs and was one and done. It was over before it even started. Let's get to my GOAT, Peyton Manning, 18 seasons, missed the playoffs 3 different times, and 9 other seasons, he was one and done. Before he even got it started, it was over. Why did I bring up that fool?
I don't know yet.
For perspective. Because we're talking about Tom Brady, who built himself up with 6 Super Bowl rings, with 9 Super Bowl appearances, but also you look at the same Tom Brady who has missed the playoffs 3 different years, one and done 3 different years. That's 6 of the 20 seasons, now 21, that Tom Brady wasn't even in a conversation of being a contender or being a champion. But that was criteria for GOAT status. Understand, if you build someone else by an argument, you also have to tear them down by the same argument. Now, stay in that lane and try and tear Tom Brady down this year.
It's very simple, Sal, because it's one simple question.
I'm listening.
Would you deem Tom Brady's last year in Tampa Bay as a success?
This year?
Last year in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's last year.
You mean New England?
Yes, correct, correct. His final year in New England is a success.
Yeah. 12 wins? You seriously go there?
12 wins.
How many times you been on a 12-win team?
Pick six to lose in the first game of the playoffs. That's a success.
And he came back and did another pick 6 in the first game this year. And it's 12 wins.
No, now I can't take you seriously. No, it's not successful. Because, Marcellus, if you are
why is Cleveland right now successful?
Because their bar is lower. Tom Brady has been made the GOAT not just because of his sustained greatness, but because of his elite excellence.
Yes.
There's a difference. He's been made the GOAT because of his sustained goodness, his sustained greatness,
I like it.
But also his elite ability. That's why he's the GOAT. He's not the GOAT because he went there a lot of times.
Okay.
He's the GOAT because he won when he went there. If Tom Brady would have just had a lot of playoff appearances, he wouldn't be the greatest of all time. It's because he has a lot of Super Bowl championships. It's not going to the playoffs that made him the GOAT. It's what he did when he got there. So if you want to tell me that Tom Brady is the GOAT simply because he showed up at the party, that don't mean nothing. It's not just that he showed up at the party. It's what he did when he got to the party.
Oh, so you're the one that went to the party. If you didn't get any numbers, you didn't have any fun. Oh, there are other things to do at the party. Look at your face.
Can we go there? Can we go there?
I'm already there. What do you mean? Show up at the party.
What is your intention when you get to the party? I didn't just want to go to
do
turn
it
up.
all.
No, because sometimes you got to go to the club and you're like, you know what? Hey, bro. I'm going to go to the club. I'm going to try to get me
I just said
numbers.
party. You went to club already. We going too far. Come back home.
Me and you in different places.
Okay.
Sometimes if you want to the party, the objective at the party is I'm trying to get 3 numbers.
Yes.
I'm trying to get 3 numbers because I'm trying to find a wife.
That's the
It's a wholesome show. It's a wholesome show. I'm trying to find a wife. I'm not just trying to go to the party to go. Tom Brady's not just trying to go to the playoffs to go.
Wow.
He's trying to go to the playoffs
Tell
to
your
get a
boys
Super Bowl.
that next time y'all want to ride out. And you're like, okay, if I don't get any numbers, this is doomed a failure of a night. Here's the thing. Tom Brady, when you pour all of his resume into a bottle, You only pour 6 years of championships. The rest that is filling that bottle up is what you would call failures, which I call success as well. 12-win seasons. Oh, how about 11-win season when he didn't even play and they didn't make the playoffs? How about the fact that when he was one and done in years when he had 12, 13 wins? The point is, it's more ingredients than just Super Bowl championships that allow him to be the GOAT. And the previous GOAT went through his own failures. It is all a part of the experience. It's an integral factor into what excellence is. You only want to focus in on the top line. All I'm saying is look at the rest of the spreadsheet. There are failures in there that still call you a success.
What I'm saying is this. We've said that we now deduce quarterbacks by whether they are a tractor or a trailer.
Yeah.
Whether they are pulling their team, shout out Bucky Brooks, or whether they are being pulled by their team. If you're looking now at Tom Brady and the totality of his career, and you're looking at how great Tom Brady is, then I'm wondering, are his now statistics and accolades, are they pulling Tom Brady's resume up or are they weighing Tom Brady's resume down? That, Marcellus, is a question that we have to answer because a first-round playoff failure is not pulling Tom Brady's resume up. The only thing that at this junction in time that can continue to pull Tom Brady's resume up is playoff success. Think about this, big dog. If you are a 4.0 student, just because you took another class doesn't add to your resume of intelligence. What did you do in that class? Just because you now said, oh, well, you know what? I'm taking another elective. Well, if you get a C in that elective, you can't be like, hey, well, I took it. I took art history. No, what did you get in art history? Because what's it doing for the totality of your GPA? What is Tom Brady's playoff success going to do for the totality of his grade point average as we're looking at how we're going to grade him as the GOAT? Just showing up don't mean that it's a success.
Man, let me tell you this, bro.
Tell me something.
You got to learn. You got to learn the difference in this. Let's stay in your examples. Top speed versus acceleration. If I get to a top speed, Tom Brady, 100 miles an hour, the next closest guy to me is 70 miles an hour. And then you're telling me right now, if Tom Brady this year doesn't accelerate from 100 miles per hour to 105, that he still doesn't have a gap, that he's still not in first, that he's still not the winner. He is, even if he doesn't accelerate, even if he coasts, even if he taps the brakes this year in your eyes of not doing anything in the playoffs. It's still part of the resume that has been stamped successful to this part. Let me give you some other numbers because maybe the examples ain't going to do it for you. Let's just talk about impact. Let's talk about effect.
Calm down.
Calm down, Watch. That green looking too good on you to be angry in it. All right, Bucks reached the playoffs for the first time since when? 2007. It's not trivia. I ain't trying to put my dog on the spot. I'm just saying, it's been a long ass time. Bucks looking to win their first playoff game since when? 2002. Hold on. Like, this is once again, I talk about the party scenario. There's a totality of events that are happening right here, more so than just did you win a Super Bowl championship or not. 31 other teams will not win a Super Bowl championship this year. But some of those teams, including Cleveland, according to Acho, will go back this offseason saying that year was a success. You can't give me the bar argument for Tom Brady. The same dude who rose the bar for himself cannot now be choked by that same bar.
That's exactly what can happen. That's what, no, I'm not with you. I'm not with you.
I hit my neck on the bar.
That's exactly what can happen. Think about it, big dog. And I'm going to go to track later. I'm going to stay in sports that America has kind of all proclaimed that they love.
Okay.
Michael Jordan in Washington, I don't necessarily classify that as a success. Now, he had some 50-point games.
Oh, you did?
We still notate that he had a 51-point game. I think he had a 55-point game.
Yeah.
But we don't classify that as a success. Why? Because Jordan had already set a bar. He had already set a standard.
Okay. If it's not a success, was it a failure? Because I don't know this middle ground that you're going to try to create right now for this conversation. If it's not a success, in my eyes, it's a failure. You trying to say Jordan in Washington scoring 20 points when he was 97 years old was a failure? Like, being real? Like, did you call that a failure? I didn't.
I didn't call it a failure.
Thank you.
That's
what I'm saying.
Did it bring up his resume or did it pull down his resume? Now, his resume was so high up. His resume was so high that you could say, I didn't really notice it. It was negligible.
Yeah.
But if we put it under a microscope, it didn't help his resume. But promise you that. And we're putting this under a microscope now.
Let's put the GOAT before the GOAT under a microscope in our sport of football. Did Joe Montana, when he went to Kansas City, went to the AFC Championship game, got mollywopped. Next year, one and done in the playoffs, and retired. Did anybody say you're not the GOAT? Matter of fact, he was the GOAT until Tom Brady was the GOAT. He ended on Acho's terms a failure. But
I didn't say failure.
I know you're not now. You came into this argument saying that.
You took the antonym of success. I did not go to the opposite end.
You want the homonym? What else? What other than name you
only
want?
on this show.
All right.
You use the word homonym, and I get what you're saying. I'm saying, big dog, that if Tom Brady doesn't actually win games in the playoffs.
Give me the ball. All right, let's start objectively, because I really want to agree with you, but I just don't.
I don't get how you don't.
If he wins one game, is that a success? Validation this year?
No, sir.
So he has to go to the championship game and lose in the championship game is still a success.
Because the question
How abstract is that?
The question is, does Tom Brady need playoff success to validate his season?
Yeah.
Not the Bucs season.
I'm with you.
And I feel like that's where we disagree.
We do that a lot on this.
Because the Bucs season has already been validated as a success.
Okay.
You said they ain't go to the playoffs until 2007.
Why are they now deemed success?
Great.
And you want to extract Tom Brady, who's the reason, the conductor of that success?
Oh, that's great. Now we getting somewhere, America. I'm sorry it took us so long. Now we getting somewhere.
All right.
I don't have the stats in front of me. I don't have our stats in my ear.
Getting dressed before you prep.
All I'm saying is this.
What?
I would venture to say, taking a lucky guess, Tom Brady probably has more Super Bowls than the Buccaneers do. I don't have it in front of me. But I think Tom Brady.
We both gonna take that bet.
I'll take that
Yes,
bet.
yes,
Tom Brady
they
has
do.
more
Yes,
than the
they do.
Buccaneers do.
Yes, yes.
Therefore, Tom Brady's standard of greatness is higher than the Buccaneers' standard of greatness.
Yeah.
Because for Tom Brady, if Tom Brady has more Super Bowls than the Bucs do in less years of existence, then Tom Brady's standard of excellence is higher than the Bucs' standard of excellence. So 11 wins for the Bucs, that checks off success for them. But 11 wins for Tom Brady doesn't necessarily check off success for him.
I'm listening.
And I think that's the line of delineation. That's the disconnect. The Bucs can be successful, why Tom Brady be not?
Interesting. I can take some of that. There's a little oil and water where you can see the distinction. Come on.
Come on, Mark. Come to this side.
I hear you, but when you look at the Bucs, and then only really one thing changed that changed all of what the Buccaneers were, was the signing of Tom Brady in March. Buccaneers, 2019, ranked 30th overall in fan attendance, second worst home attendance percentage in the league. 35 minutes after signing Tom Brady. We ain't talking about Gronk. We ain't talking about AB for sure. We're not talking about any of these signings. 35 minutes after, man, they had a waiting list. Wait a minute. Y'all went from second to worst, third worst, to what the hell? There's not a seat available. Matter of fact, we're going to drive the price up because there's a waiting list. I just don't understand what success means to you. Football is a sport, but professional football is a business. And Tom Brady impacted the business. He had an impact on the wins and losses. He's now having an impact on the fortunes, the vision, what they perceive.
That's good. We going somewhere. We going somewhere. We finally digging past the layer. We done broke the concrete. Because everything you just said that Tom Brady did and Tom Brady accomplished, it had implications on everyone except for Tom Brady. You said it impacted the Bucs organization, the business. You said it impacted the franchise. It impacted the fan base. None of those people named Tom or Brady. So I'm saying that we can both be right. In the fact
I don't like those kind of discussions. What the hell are we doing this for? Somebody got to do it.
But here, my point is, what you're saying is, it's a success for the Buccaneers, which is right. But it's not a success for Tom Brady in the fact of this. Tom Brady, by going to the playoffs, his playoff check, $35,000. In case y'all didn't know, everybody get the same amount of playoff checks. So Tom Brady game check might be $900,000 during the regular season. That playoff check only $35,000. It's not a success for him. Tom Brady, no individual accolades really this season. Not a success for him.
Don't do that.
Tom Brady going to the playoffs. He won 11 games, but he usually wins 12, 13, or 14 in the last 10 years. Not a success for him.
Wow.
So what can Tom Brady do that would be successful? He can redeem himself. Because the last time we saw him in the playoffs, he was terrible. Really, the last 3 times we've seen him in the playoffs, even though they won a Super Bowl, it's because of the defense, he's statistically been terrible. So how can Tom Brady redeem himself? He can redeem his previous playoff individual performances that have been bad, and he can redeem the fact that he needs to go out there and exceed Tom Brady's own standards.
You want to do all this, and I listen to all your arguments. How about the Patriots without Tom Brady? That's an impact. That's an effect. Hey, I leave here, I go here. How are you doing? That's not my lane, but that's what you always bring up, so I will bring it up to help me against you right now. You say, Tom Brady didn't do anything historical this year, anything to help Tom Brady. Oh, he didn't? How about the fact he joined Peyton Manning as the only players in history with at least 40 touchdowns in a season with multiple teams. Guess what? That's something else. If you go to Tom Brady's mansion, mega mansion, 30,000 square feet, one of those mantles is going to have this award up there as well. That wasn't there before this year, Acho. You got to respect all these things that add up.
Nobody cares about he's the only player to go to multiple franchises and go with white socks on his right leg and black socks on his left leg.
Because it is not chores.
It's not what they're going to be talking about, bro. Like, if you have to start talking to me about these third-tier, fourth-tier, F-list celebrity statistics, that's a different beast. I'm talking about major accomplishments, not doing things with different franchises. Tom Brady's beyond that argument, big dog.
Okay, let's do this. Can he add to what he already has, which is the all-time records in postseason wins, postseason passing yards, postseason passing touchdowns, Super Bowl wins? All of that is still in play. But Acho says this is not a successful season unless he goes out there
and has playoff success.
Playoff success. But guess what? If you go out there and have passing yards, it adds to what you already done in greatness. If you go out there and have passing touchdowns, everything. Acho, I love you so much.
That's why you sweating. You know you lost. That's why you sweating.
No,
I'm
actually,
here.
I lost
65 degrees, and you sweating.
And I lost some weight, too. That's what's going on with metabolism. Coming up at the top of the hour, I'm getting skinny on these boys. Drew Brees was ranked the 7th best quarterback in the playoffs. It gave me too much work right there, Acho. We'll tell you if we have a problem with that. But first, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are looking for their first playoff win. We'll tell you which quarterback is under the most pressure. That's next. Speak for yourself. Oh, I had so many more examples.
What's up, Speak for Yourself listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I welcome in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are leading two of the hottest teams in football, but now it's playoff time. Lamar's the reigning MVP, but he's 0 for 2 in the playoffs, while Josh Allen is a top MVP candidate this season, but he lost his first playoff appearance last year. So, Marcellus, let's break this one down. Who's under more pressure to get their first playoff win? Is it Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen?
Him. Say it again. Say that last name again.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Look, both of these guys are tremendous. Both of these guys are next and now in terms of how great they play the position. But comparison is the thief of joy, and I'm about to steal some joy away from you, Josh Allen. The pressure's on you. One, just because I've been a Buffalo Bill, and the last time the Buffalo Bills won a playoff game, what was that? 1995, Jim Kelly? Good Lord. That was before I even got there, so this is on me too as well, Josh Allen. But the point is, a lot of pressure on you because of the improvement, because of the talent level, because of the ability, because of the resume you built, and most importantly, because of what we saw of you last year in the playoffs. Now, this is not apples to apples comparing him to Lamar Jackson. I know where this conversation may go. Oh, Lamar Jackson is 0-2 in the playoffs. Yeah, one of those losses, he was a rookie and only played half the year, wasn't even the QB1 for the beginning of the season. And the other one, he had 500-plus yards in a loss with injuries all around him. No excuses, but that's not the same as Josh Allen. What was that from Josh Allen against the Houston Texans? I'm not lying. I could go to a Pop Warner game and watch a quarterback in distress and lose his mind and not do what Josh Allen did in that playoff game. Throw the ball backwards, run around. Bad news Bears football. So you got to get that off your resume. You have to exercise those demons. And you're going to the negotiating table going forward this offseason. Not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's numbers are already solidified. He's getting paid. He's the face of a franchise. He's the face of the league, one of them. It reminds me of Montrezl Harrell for my Clippers, who was the 6th man of the year, went into the postseason, struggled in the postseason, still expecting that big deal. And they look at you like, what have you done for me lately? We don't care about your body of work as much as What were those eyesore moments? And you can't have two eyesore moments if you're Josh Allen. Pressure's on him.
I like that take. I'm not going to push back on it. I'm just going to speak my own lane. Lamar Jackson. That dude's under more pressure.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Lamar Jackson's under more pressure because Lamar has already accomplished at the right age of, 25, everything you can accomplish individually in a regular season, if he's even 25.
Yeah, I don't think he's 25.
Like, he might be 24, 23.
Yeah,
but he's already accomplished this. Think about it, y'all. He rushed for 1,000 yards twice. He led the NFL in passing touchdowns, won an MVP, unanimous MVP, second all-time as far as win percentage through a quarterback's first 37 starts since 1950. So Lamar Jackson has already accomplished everything you can accomplish individually in the regular season. What has Lamar Jackson not accomplished at all whatsoever? Anything in the playoffs. We talk about the 500 yards he had. 89% of those yards came when that team was trailing. So the yards were really empty stats, empty calories. So Lamar Jackson's under more pressure because he has already checked off so many boxes and Josh Allen is still yet to check off. Josh Allen hasn't gotten to that final stage. Josh Allen is still in that honeymoon phase, if we will. Like right now, we just applaud Josh Allen for doing things. Yeah. Oh my gosh, he can outrun defenders. Lamar Jackson done been doing that. Like, oh my gosh, Josh Allen's accurate now. Lamar Jackson was the most accurate quarterback from the pocket last year. We're still applauding Josh Allen for things Lamar Jackson has already done. At this junction in time, we got to see Lamar Jackson, hey, what can you do in the playoffs? We've seen what you can do in the regular season, but it's time now to see what kind of noise you can make in those playoffs. Well, let's bring in another opinion. That's Fox NFL analyst LeVar Arrington. So, L.A., who's under more pressure to get the first playoff win? Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen?
It's Josh Allen.
Wow.
And listen, I got to give you your argument points as the reason why. If you think about it, all those things you just said about Lamar Jackson, right? Most accurate in the pocket. All the rushing yards, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He won the league MVP. All those boxes that you said Josh Allen did not check off is the reason why he has more pressure on him. And the reason being is that if I come to the table and I lost in the playoffs and I have not checked off boxes that I can use in my favor to say, you know what, this is what I've done. This is what I've accomplished. You can say, as the Baltimore Ravens, we lost in the first round of the playoffs with the best player in the National Football League on our roster. You know what the translation says? Coaching, offensive line, running game, receivers, play calling, defense. You could go to everything because you certainly can't go to the best player and say the best player is the sole reason why you did not win. So while it might be sensationalized to say Lamar has to show us more as a quarterback in the playoffs, and that's very true, I still look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen does not have that safety net created for him underneath him if he falls flat in the playoffs. He doesn't have an MVP bid. He doesn't have I was the best at this in the National Football League on his resume. And that puts a lot more pressure on him because he is a guy that we want to speak on in the most elite manner, but he hasn't achieved at the most elite level to be in the conversation with the other elites of elites just yet. And I think that provides more pressure on Josh Allen.
It's interesting how y'all look at this. Sometimes I have to tangent away from sports, only to come back to sports, but talk in another lane to make some things make a little bit more sense. If I can look at the fellas, please, because I got to talk to my dogs. Fellas, you all are the married men. Let's talk relationships. All football is one big relationship.
Trying to stay married.
And you all are the experts. You all are the resident experts on this desk.
Keep it clean.
As far as relationships. Now, Pete, LA, because this is where I'm trying to go with this. If you already know that the significant other is smart, they're intelligent, you know that they can cook, you know that they're trustworthy, you know that they're funny, say they've already checked all these boxes, but now you bring them home to meet your folks, to meet the relatives, and your folks hate them. See, if you've already checked all these boxes, but you're waiting for that last box to be checked, then the checking or lack thereof of that final box is eminently imperative because they've already checked off all the other boxes. So now all that matters is what is going on with this last box. Whereas Josh Allen, he's still checking boxes. We're like, is he really smart? But can he cook? Like, is he trustworthy? Is he funny? Like, do I have a good time with him? So we haven't gotten yet to that imperative checking off of the last box.
Save this dude.
And that's where
Save this dude, Lamar.
Ain't no saving.
It is less pressure for the person you brought home to the family that has checked off all of the boxes versus the person that hasn't. And I'm going to tell you why.
Please.
If they hate that person that you brought home that's checked off all of the boxes, then you have to question what their motives are.
Oh.
Why do you hate this person? Because you have checked off all of the boxes. And if I'm supposed to be responsible, and the way you have raised me is to bring home somebody who checks off the boxes, not someone who hasn't, then the less pressure is to say, you know what? She checks off all of the boxes. So therefore, if you have a problem with her, maybe you need to take a look at the boxes that you aren't checking off versus the boxes you're looking at that are checked off by the person that I brought you home.
Don't boost him, Marcellus.
I couldn't have said it. Nope. No one on this planet could have said it any better. Hey, if y'all got a problem with all these boxes checked, we need to talk. Y'all need to let go. And I know I went through that resistance, even through all my engagements. Like, let go. Because that's all it was. The box they wanted to check was the box that they kept for themselves. It wasn't about us. I digress. Amazing, Lamar. And also, remember this, Acho. The one who doesn't check all the other boxes, Josh Allen, doesn't even get to come home. Doesn't even get to come see the family. So let's leave it there. What we're doing here again is we're looking at success differently.
Okay.
I use Lamar Jackson and him checking all the boxes off as having equity, as having that success, as having a mattress to lay on in case things don't work out. Just like in the first year when things didn't work out. Just like in the second year when things didn't work out. We'll see how it plays out this year. But the point is, there are only two people walking this planet that have a unanimous MVP trophy. And one of them is Lamar Jackson. So if all else fails going forward in these playoffs, he still has somewhere to rest. Where does Josh Allen have to rest in this situation? So this is what I want you to understand, Acho.
What's up?
Because I don't want you to be this kind of person in life.
Talk to me.
That you have so much going on. Tremendous success. A lot of it is coming of late, too, as well. Congratulations, big dog. But don't become a prisoner of your own success, because that's going to happen, too. You're right now telling me you're going to make Lamar Jackson a prisoner of his own success. He climbed a mountain higher than Josh Allen. But now you're going to sit there and say, if he were to stumble from that higher apex, that is worse for him than somebody who hasn't even climbed their mountain yet. I don't look at life that way. I look at it more in an absolute state. Hey, Josh Allen, even get up to where Lamar Jackson is, qualify for this conversation before we can really start to say that it's a problem with Lamar.
But here's what you know, because you've been at the mountaintop. LA, you've been at the mountaintop. And, sir, I am still ascending in my own realm, not necessarily sports specific.
Gotcha.
The higher you climb, the bigger of a target that you are.
Oh, for sure.
And Lamar Jackson has ascended to heights where he now has more pressure. Marcellus, you said that either way, regardless of how Lamar Jackson performs, he'll have somewhere to rest. That is true. But I don't think he's going to be resting in the house he wants to lay his head in. When we think about Charles Barkley, he accomplished a lot. But what's the first thing that really comes to mind? Some of his outlandish takes maybe, but also, wait, Chuck ain't never win a chip. When we think about Dan Marino, he accomplished a lot. But what do we think about when we think about Dan Marino? What's one of the first things that come to mind? He was the greatest player to never win a Super Bowl. Charles Barkley was one of the greatest players to never win a championship. Lamar Jackson will have somewhere to rest if he does not win. But I'm afraid that he gonna end up resting in the outhouse, not in the mansion. He gonna end up resting in houses that he does not want to rest in. Again, the real pushback on this is Peyton Manning. I understand that's the pushback. Peyton Manning started 0-5 in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. But I have to remind y'all, Peyton Manning was an outlier. Peyton Manning was not the norm. Let's look at NFL quarterbacks who started their playoff careers 0-3. You're going to see some names on there. Some you'll recognize, some you don't. You'll see Burt Jones, Steve Grogan. Then you'll see guys like Randall Cunningham, Bobby Herbert, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, Andy Dalton. If you look at it, the only name on there that everybody's like, oh, he didn't start off great, but all ended well, is Peyton Manning. So again, Lamar Jackson, choose the company you want to keep. He will have a house to rest in. It's just a matter of what house will he be resting in.
Yeah, but that house is in Canton as well. He's on a Canton trajectory. And like, look, for me, I'm not a pro Hall of Famer, but I will say this. I earned, you see that on my name right there on the TV, right? I earned 3 Pro Bowls, and those were not alternate Pro Bowls. I was a starter. I was a first ballot Pro Bowler selection, which means that when I have discussion points about guys that are in the Hall of Fame, there are guys that are in the Hall of Fame that don't have as many Pro Bowl bids as me. I can lean on that. I'm not going to be a Hall of Famer, but I'll be darn sure having my conversation points ready if somebody comes for me and say, well, you weren't a Hall of Famer at the pro level. Well, you know what? I do have more Pro Bowls than some of the people that are resting with a bus in Canton, Ohio. So to me, the fact that he has the accomplishments that he has, the guys you mentioned, Jim Kelly is one of the greatest to ever do it, doesn't have a Super Bowl. Dan Marino, one of the greatest to ever do it and doesn't have a Super Bowl. But the mansion that they rest in, that outhouse that you're talking about, it resides in Canton, Ohio, and it's a bus with a yellow jacket that accompanies it. That's all I'm saying.
I thought I was going to button it up, but you said it best. And it's funny, I have 3 Pro Bowls too, but only 1 starting, 2 alternates. So even LeVar got a better house than me. It all works out in the end, somehow, some way. Coming up.
You could use it.
I'm going to try. Miles Sanders says nobody liked Jalen Hurts being benched Sunday. We'll tell you if we have issues with him saying that. Next, speak for yourself. Y'all went deep. I like.
Hey, Speak for Yourself listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Doug Peterson was heavily criticized for benching Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld during Sunday's loss to Washington. But center Jason Kelce says he was not confrontational about the move, adding, quote, "We all knew leading into the game that Sudfeld was told to be ready to play." This is a contrast from running back Miles Sanders, who said a lot of people on the team were confused, adding, quote, "If I'm being honest, nobody liked the decision." LeVar is back, but Acho, do you have an issue with Miles Sanders saying nobody liked Jalen Hurts being benched?
Yeah, man, I got a huge issue with it.
Okay.
Number one, this isn't just this situation. This is in general. You can never speak in absolutes. You always got to be mindful of speaking in absolutes.
I'm with you.
Everybody loves this. Nobody liked that. Because when you say nobody, you're talking about every single body. You're including everyone and saying that nobody liked that decision. I don't think that is factual. But let me give y'all my biggest issue. Number one, I like Miles Sanders. I think he's a top 5 running back when he's healthy. I think he's a beast.
Here we go.
But this is a real thing. If you have an issue with benching Jalen Hurts, the question is why? Why would have to be because you don't think Nate Sudfeld gave the Eagles the best chance to win the game, correct? That's the only reason you would have an issue with benching Jalen Hurts at the moment in which they did. Well, Miles Sanders, don't you think you would have gave the Eagles a better chance of winning the game? Because, like, you miraculously end up on the injury report on Wednesday, then you on it again on Thursday, then you're ruled out by Friday. But I ain't see you hurt against the Cowboys. I ain't see you hurt against the Cardinals, and when you had 100-plus yards against the Saints, I sure as heck didn't see you hurt. Now, I'm not going to blatantly and overtly question if you were 100%. I don't think anybody in the NFL is 100% at this time. But I'm just wondering, if the game had a little bit more meaning, I would assume that Miles Sanders, along with other Eagles players, would have been out there on the field, including Carson Wentz. So I hate saying nobody, number one, because don't speak in absolutes. But number two, don't complain about a problem if you're not helping the solution. Marcellus, I'm about to get on a pulpit. Don't complain about a problem if you ain't helping the solution. You want to know what I hate?
What you hate?
Acho, man, I'm just so out of shape. I'm trying to get back in shape. You working out? I just, you know, I ain't renewed my membership just yet. Man, Acho, I don't like the way that our country's going right now. What you doing to change it? I posted a black square once. Don't complain about a problem if you're not doing nothing for the solution. So if you gonna tell me you didn't like Jalen Hurts getting benched because it didn't give y'all the best chance to win or nobody liked it, well, what were you doing to help the Eagles win? because you was on the sideline with Carson Wentz. That is my only problem with that take.
That's my dog. That's my co-host. Perfect take right there. Now, here's another perfect take. I hope I can nail it like you just did right here. I have no issue with Miles Sanders and what he said. I agree with Miles Sanders. This isn't something. This isn't nothing. This is everything. Because if you look at the statement, not only did he say we were confused, but also he said, I don't know who made this decision. Uh-oh. Now, Miles Sanders took the uniform off and put on the bulletproof vest and said, come on. Like, if you say that, you've taken it 2 levels. One, the confusion element. The fact that even in this situation, Jalen Hurts said he knew that Nate Sudfeld would get some opportunities, but still looked that disappointed. Other players knew and other players didn't, to the point where it makes you scratch your head. Was this a situation creating confusion, creating controversy, like I've been saying for the past few days about this same topic? How about this for evidence that Jason Kelce confronts his coach in the game, during the game, about what's going on, what's this? And then gets that double tap. As we all know as professionals, you get that double tap from a higher up or someone, or that clarity conversation, and then you put out a statement that sounds a little different in tone. A little peculiar there. But the second layer is the fact that upstairs, you guys got called out in this conversation. And why would you get called out? Because it made no sense to anyone on the playing field. Now let's talk about how, allegedly, 2 defensive players had to be held back from potentially putting some hands in Coach Peterson's world. All of this is just centered around lack of communication with your team. They knew who was active and not active. So why don't they know who's playing and who's not playing? Because that's something you should be privy to, especially in Week 17. And then Doug Peterson doubles down on his pathetic excuse and says this. Well, Jalen Hurts had a tight hamstring, so we knew we weren't going to play him an entire game. So you take him out in the 4th quarter with 12:35 to go, put in Nate Sudfeld, who has 2 possessions, 2 turnovers, and you lose the game? Come on, Coach. All Jason Kelce said the first time, all Miles Sanders is saying now, and what I'm saying is either say the truth, speak it, and be real, or don't say anything at all, because everything that's leaving his mouth is leaving us more confused.
You know, the reason why I don't have an issue with Miles Sanders saying what he said is because everybody's having to talk about it, right? I mean, let's be clear about it. If you didn't have to discuss it, then it's not an issue at all. But we all know that it was enough of a blunder that it needed justification. And I'm going to tell you right now, you guys know this as former players and now being in the media, when you shoot things out and you're expected to give responses to the media, you know, we just sat there and watched how Dwayne Haskins did not face the media when he had a bad game and walked out, right? So it's like if somebody asked you about what took place and it was egregious, like I don't think any of us would sit there and deny the fact that this was such an egregious situation and so poorly handled and such a blunder on Peterson's part that it had to have some level of justification. Otherwise, you leave the realm of genuineness, right? Like nobody wants to be viewed by the fan base, especially the Philly fan base, as not being genuine in what it is that you're thinking and what you're feeling. Miles Sanders is a Penn Stater. He understands that fan base very well. Keep in mind, he has an intimate relationship with them prior to being a professional. You want to mess up with Philadelphia? You played in Philadelphia, Acho. Play that I don't know card if you want to. Kelce did a great job. You know why Kelce did a great job? Because Kelce addressed it in a way where he was not putting himself in harm's way, but he was letting his fan base know that he did not agree with it. Like, let me get the rest of the linemen. Let me let them know what the snap count is so that they don't jump off sides. Translation, we were not expecting him to play. Hey, let me take these snaps with Sudfeld. Translation, we were not expecting him to play. You put him in. You talked about girlfriends earlier on, Acho. Let me give you this one before I turn it over to you guys. If I am not confident in the person that I'm taking and I'm putting in the game to be measured and weighed by the people I love the most that knew me before I knew my own self and gave me the name that I am I am tasked with honoring and carrying because it was given to me, not I made my name, then I have to go in with the right state of mind. First off, if we get there and she does not perform well, I have got to abort the mission. We're not, if the meal wasn't done, we're not eating the dinner. We're going to go get fast food. I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to make sure if you were living in my house, you get your mail and get your stuff. And you got to pack up because it's all over. He performed so poorly, Acho. He should have been pulled out. And at the least, you should have put Jalen back in to see if you could salvage the victory of your last game.
Yeah, girl. Perform better. Perform better, girl.
Hey,
Perform better.
Sel, what you remember from that tape?
Penn State.
Miles Sanders.
So we heard Penn State. We were like,
LeVar had to say, America, in case you did not know, LeVar Arrington is a resident Penn Stater. Anytime he comes across a Penn Stater, you will hear that they are. I'm going to give it to y'all like this. I'm going to give it short. I'm going to keep it sweet. My experience, my expertise.
Okay.
One time, I think it was early on in my career, I tweeted at Tyrann Mathieu. Ty Mathieu, he came out and said, it was at the Combine. He had just finished the Combine. And he said, you can measure your speed, you can measure your height, but they can't measure your heart. You know me. I think I'm a funny guy. So I quote tweeted and I said, well, actually, Ty, that's what the EKG is for. I don't think he got the joke. Because Ty tweeted at me, and he gonna say, I hate when backups talk like starters. I said, oh, my God.
You hit him with a matrix.
I said,
you get out of that?
That one hit my heart. Oh. I remembered that because 5 years later, I'm on the show using that quote. Let me tell y'all what I also hate.
EKG.
I hate when starters talk like backups. Miles Sanders, you a starter. So how you gonna tell me, the backup, who's been in this situation before, playing in a meaningless game, because I am a backup, and that's the only reason I'm on this field is because this game is meaningless.
Oh.
How you gonna tell me what I liked and what I did not like? How you gonna tell me if I cared or even noticed or was even aware to care about the fact that Nate Sudfeld went in? Let me tell you what backups is worried about in the last meaningless game. They worried about not getting hurt. Because if you get hurt, you can't go home in the offseason. You got to stay in Philadelphia and rehab. They worried about, man, did my girl get all my boxes packed? Did my mama get all them boxes packed so as soon as this game is over, I can do the exit meetings and leave the next day? That's what you worried about in that last meaningless game. The last thing you worried about, I got to put good tape on camera because the Eagles might not retain me next year, but somebody in the NFL needs to hire me. So I don't like when starters talk like backups because backups is thinking completely different things besides, oh, I wonder if we're going to win this last meaningless game, which actually has no indication of our future success or my individual success, period.
Woo. Y'all are taking us deep into y'all lives, and I love it. I'm here for it. I'm not going to go any further in my life. Check Wikipedia if you want to know more about me. I ain't giving y'all all my nuggets in life. But here's the thing. I didn't like this decision in part of the moment it occurred. I'm like, that's not the best thing to do to have a competitive advantage. We all felt that. But then the consequences, the repercussions, the fact that teammates were upset, confused, wanting to fight Coach took me to a different place. Now, why would you make a move like this? I say you make this same kind of move is because you want to create doubt about who Jalen Hurts is going into the offseason. You want to know why? Because 2 backups ago, the last backup before Jalen Hurts, that guy just won a Super Bowl championship, gave you a good playoff run, and has a statue at the damn stadium. And that statue at the stadium reminds everyone, especially Carson Wentz, who has had his mind turned to mush in looking at this situation in Philadelphia. So maybe this was an effort to restore some confidence and Carson Wentz by saying, we're not sold on Jalen Hurts yet going forward. All that said, I'm going to give it to you in story form. When I heard these players wanted to go and throw some hands at Doug Peterson, it took me back to my Dallas Cowboys days. And this is before social media, so the story wasn't out there like it should have been. But I was in practice, and I saw Bill Parcells look at Antonio Bryant, who was a beast. And Antonio Bryant got tired of practicing, especially running these 9 routes. And then he finally said, hey, we got other receivers here. And then he made the costly mistake of saying one name in particular. He said, we got Keyshawn Johnson over here. He can catch some routes, too. Now, Keyshawn was bigger than life. So Keyshawn was like, I run routes when I want to run routes. And Parcells looked at Antonio, realized, do I go at Keyshawn or do I go at Antonio? He chose Antonio. Smart decision, right? Told Antonio, run another route. Antonio stormed off, threw his jersey on the ground. Oh, did Antonio go Parcells grab that jersey? Storming after him, you know, the tuna walking sideways, coming after him. Threw it at Antonio. He hit the matrix, turned around, grabbed the jersey, threw it back at Parcells. Yeah. Team jumped in. Point being, moments like that, contention like that, everyone is looking at the coach differently and at the situation differently. It's going to be interesting to see how these Eagles respond to this going forward. Coming up, 6 playoff-bound quarterbacks were rated higher than Drew Brees. We'll tell you if we have a problem with that. That's next. Speak for yourself. Yep. You're watching Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley.
My dog.
Emmanuel Immaculate Acho up here.
It's better than avocado Acho. I really hated that first couple weeks on the show when I wore green. That was terrible. Emmanuel Immaculate is better.
I like it, bro. You come a long way. That's all that is. Let's get it started with Drew Brees, future Hall of Famer, ranked as the 7th, 7th best quarterback in the playoffs by Sport News. Brees missed 4 games this year with a rib injury, but he led the Saints to a 9-3 record when he was healthy. Take a look at the top 7. Patrick Mahomes is in the top spot. Only Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady have more career playoff starts than Brees, while Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have 3 combined starts compared to Brees' 16. LeVar is back, but Acho, you have a problem with Drew Brees being ranked 7th best quarterback in the playoffs.
I got a huge issue with it.
Oh, huge.
Fellas, my first year in college, my coach, he looked at me, my defensive coordinator, he said, Acho, I've forgotten more football than you know.
I love that.
I was like, huh? And then I realized, wait a second. He's saying he's so advanced and experienced, he's forgotten more about the game of football than I know. That's how much he knows. Drew Brees has forgotten more about playoffs and playoff success than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have realized. I love that they're young, bright, budding stars, but I don't want to see a name on that list that hasn't, above Drew Brees, that hasn't won a Super Bowl, hadn't even won a playoff game. Pat Mahomes, I'm cool with. Russell Wilson, Rodgers, y'all do your thing. But to put Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson ahead of Drew Brees, that's a travesty as far as the playoffs, not regular season. Remember, America is different. I went to the playoffs one time. The preparation for that is different. The atmosphere is different. The coaches, they are more uptight. Everything is different about the playoffs. It don't translate regular season to postseason. We've seen it with Josh Allen. We've seen it with Lamar Jackson. So I'm really not telling you anything you don't know. Sure. So when you're ranking playoff quarterbacks, I don't want regular season success to be indicative of playoff success, because we know for certain that's not the case. I got a big issue with Drew Brees. I think he should be the 5th best quarterback as far as ranking playoff quarterbacks.
Man, stop. I had no problem with this because, as you said last block, if you don't have any solutions, what are you talking about? Being real, Acho?
What up?
Who in the hell you gonna put him in front of? Being real. See, your coach tried to break it down to you in terms of knowledge, because you were probably challenging him because you were on the field, a good player, and he's like, oh, this boy think he knows it all. So that's all that was. But don't take that conversation to this conversation, because this ranking is not a knowledge-based ranking. It's not about Wonderlic scores, like who knows the most about football and put them in order. It's about what the hell they gonna do. Anticipate it going forward. And Drew Brees is right where he should be. Oh, Drew Brees, who was 8-8 in the postseason, you know. God, Drew Brees. When you think of Drew Brees, when I saw that nugget, I was like, 8-8? That's not an average. But Drew Brees is way above average in terms of his performances, but that's the results. I look at the list. Patrick Mahomes, be real. Hell no, he ain't going in front of them. Aaron Rodgers, be real. Hell no, talking about this year. Tom Brady. Nah, son. Russell Wilson, come on, man. He's still cooking when he wants to. Josh Allen, he damn near won the MVP. What you talking about, Willis? Lamar Jackson, boy, we've been glowing. You put up a full screen yesterday talking about how Lamar Jackson is top 5 in rushing and top 5.
Regular season.
Yeah, but Drew Brees is average in the postseason. We could dance together. So here's the thing. I don't know where you're going with this. So the last thing is, since returning from injury, this is what probably damned him, being real. I mean, you're 8-8 in the postseason in your career, and then, okay, it's still Drew Brees. He's coming off a rib injury. How's he looking now? 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 60% completion percentage. That's not Drew Brees right there. So I think all of those factors is why he's low on the list to you, Acho, but right where he should be for me.
I think if you look at personnel groupings, I think that that's probably the biggest reason. you look at Josh Allen. Why is he higher than Lamar Jackson? And I think the reason is because of Stephon Diggs, and what he brings to the table. You look at the rest of those guys high on that list, there is a marquee guy connected to what they're doing. Even though Mike Evans may be injured and banged up, you still got a few other guys. So when you look at Drew Brees, Mike Thomas, we don't know what they're saying he's going to be rested and they're going to ramp him back up, but we don't know how healthy he is. And we don't know what his level of competition is going to be like going into this game. And I think that that's probably the largest factor in terms of why you're going to rank them where you're going to rank them. They all have marquee receivers connected to them. And I would say probably Drew Brees is the only one that doesn't have a marquee receiver if Michael Thomas isn't all the way healthy. So I think that it's an okay ranking, an accurate ranking. I don't think we have to go into what he's forgotten and what he knows and all these other comparisons. I think it's just very black and white on this scenario. Who is Drew Brees going to get it done with in the playoffs outside of Alvin Kamara if Michael Thomas isn't ready to go?
LA, you get a radio show which you're thriving on, and now you want to come up here and prove you're the most astute analyst.
How he doing that? That flex.
Out here ranking.
That Wonderlic flex.
Marcellus, LeVar is that teacher. Remember, you would read a sentence in a book, the curtains were blue. And LeVar would be like, what did the teacher mean? The teacher meant that the blue represents the immense depression in our society based upon the color of the curtains and the saturation of the blue.
Hated that dude.
Indicative of the tears that our world was crying.
Shut your trap.
LeVar, the curtains was blue. That's what the author meant.
If the context clues within the book tell you to read deeper into the meaning of it, like you just said, then you would be wise to do it. Otherwise, you are wasting your time reading the passage.
The passage.
The passage.
I'm going to pass by that tape.
I'm going to pass on your tape, too.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just shut all this up with one simple
I heard you hating on Chase
screen. That's it. That's it. I'm going to give y'all one full screen because I'm tired of opinions. I'm going to let these numbers talk. Just look at cats in the postseason. Josh Allen, he's 0-1. Lamar Jackson, 0-2. Drew Brees, 8-8. 50% is better than 0%. Passing touchdowns, interceptions, 34-12, and the other guy's just bad. Completion percentage, it's not even a conversation. 67% for Brees, 51 and 52 for the other cats. And then passer rating, 99 for Brees, 68, 69 for the other two cats. Again, we just have to do a great job of delineating between regular season accomplishments, postseason accomplishments. Josh Allen is on a tear. End of this season, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Last year, Josh Allen, end of the season, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But you saw what happened in the playoff. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, I will stand on this table and yell for a regular season success. All I'm saying is, playoff, we have to put Drew Brees ahead of them, too, for now.
I can't do that because I read the article and the rankings of this, and it was interesting. A couple of criteria, a couple of things that they made mention of that probably was their criteria was how loaded this playoff quarterback field was. 6 quarterbacks have won Super Bowls: Brady, Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, and Mahomes. Okay, but then they went to another level and they said, there are MVPs in these playoffs as well. Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, and Jackson.
Sure.
Didn't say
I
Drew.
was holding that one.
Yeah, didn't say
Drew.
Hit it. Didn't say Drew Brees' name right
go
there.
Ahead and hit it.
So if I name 4 guys, and then this is the killer. This is the kicker. How about Drew Brees in his last playoff performance? Even though the numbers look good, let's be real, we all watched that game. Wasn't he the 3rd best quarterback on the field, including Taysom Hill?
People were like, down,
okay, let's not do that. Let's go to the game before that, the year before. Drew Brees, passer rating in the 80s, and last game was in the 90s, which is under league average. The point is, you're coming off injury. Your last 2 playoff performances have been subpar based on your standards, and now you're in this situation. Hey, go ahead.
I wanted you to go to break, but I just couldn't let America let you just lie to these cats.
I ain't lied to nobody.
So Drew Brees' last 2 passer ratings were 80 and 90. I just showed y'all Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen's are 68 and 69. Yeah. Drew Brees hasn't won an NFL MVP, but we've already discussed that a MVP is a regular season
Are you
award.
rehashing this?
Again, I am
not
giving
done.
them their praise for the regular season.
How about this?
We haven't seen it translate.
How about how are they playing right now, though? The two that you're trying to circle, Lamar Jackson, who's on a 5-game win streak and killing it, and Josh Allen, who is also killing it right now to make an MVP surge. So who's playing better football right now?
Let me ask you this,
Stop
fellas.
that, homeboy.
Last year, that's why I brought this up before you got to your point. Last year, Josh Allen had 15 touchdowns and 2 picks going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
This year, he has 15 touchdowns, 2 picks going into the playoffs. When he got to the playoffs, it didn't translate.
Did it translate for Drew Brees coming off an injury last year? Is it going to translate this year?
Basing the argument points off of what they've done overall, which that's what you did with Drew Brees and comparing them to Lamar and comparing them to Josh Allen. Then Ben Roethlisberger should be number 2 and Tom Brady should be number 1 because they are the ones that have accomplished more in the terms of winning Super Bowls. One has a whole bunch, while the other has more than the other ones on the list. So they should be 1 and 2 based off of your logic, right?
Time out right now. Throw in the towel, Acho.
No towel I'm doing. I don't have time to entertain this nonsense.
Okay, fine. Let's go right then.
Don't argue with fools.
Baker Mayfield will be without his head coach for Sunday's playoff game. We'll tell you if his Browns have a legit chance against the Steelers. That's next. Speak for yourself. Didn't they say about arguing with fools? What'd you say?
Well, welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Steelers are 5.5-point favorites at home against the Browns in Sunday's wild card game, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. Well, Baker Mayfield will have more obstacles than Pittsburgh's defense. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, 2 members of his coaching staff, and 2 players won't be available after testing positive for COVID. Oh, not again, COVID. LeVar is here, but Marcellus, are you giving the Browns a legit chance against these Steelers?
Hell no, not a chance.
Fix your face. Fix your face.
No. No chance at all. No chance at all. Look, I already told you before I knew that they were going to go out there without a coach. No 12th man this year in terms of the coach being the extra support, what you need to advance in this postseason. As I talked about last block, the quarterbacks in the postseason this year, nothing to play with. And now you're going to go out there with a questionable franchise quarterback, whatever you want to call Baker Mayfield, with no coach. And let me just talk about who this Baker Mayfield is, even when he has his coach against the Steelers. 0-3 in road games against the Steelers. Is that giving you confidence? Yuck. More turnovers than passing touchdowns. Yuck. 70 passer rating. Yuck. How about Ben Roethlisberger when he sees Baker Mayfield out there, even with his coach, but this week without his coach? 23-2-1 in career games against the Browns. Second best win percentage by any quarterback against a single opponent. I'm just going to leave it right there. I have nuggets. I have eyes. Nothing suggests that the Baker Mayfield team that was a 2-point conversion away from tying the JV version of the Pittsburgh Steelers with their coach is now going to go out there and beat the varsity without their coach. I'm listening, Acho. Listening in LeVar.
Pride comes before the fall, gentlemen. And both of you sound a little too prideful in these Steelers. I'm going to give it to y'all like this. I'm going to start, and then I'm going to end with some little different takes, different sports, different nuggets. Y'all remember the Combine, 40-yard dash. Remember how your trainer, whoever he or she was,
Mike Boyle.
Mike Boyle?
Yes.
Mike probably told you, he said, hey, Sal, your second or your first 40 will not be your fastest. So make sure you get a run in before you step in between the lasers because your first 40 won't ever be your fastest. Typically, your second won't. It's that third one. Your SAT, your first SAT is not going to be your best. Maybe not even your second. It's typically that third one because oftentimes it's that third time when you need to get enough repetitions to really go out there and execute. Wait a second now. It's about to be the third matchup between these Browns and these Steelers. Now, the real part I'm going to say, besides the fact that the more repetitions favors the Browns is this. If you were to remove the logos, remove the names, if you were just to look at the resumes, you would actually probably pick the Browns to win.
What?
Last 8 weeks, Marcellus and LeVar, Browns are 6-2. Steelers are 4-4. But you know what? The quarterbacks are the conductors of the team. So can we look at the quarterbacks if we may? The last 5 starts, 2020. Baker, completion percentage, higher. Yards per game, higher. Touchdown interception, God, higher. Passer rating, higher. Wait a second now, Marcellus. So you telling me the Browns have been playing better as a team, Baker's been playing better than Big Ben, and they're about to play for the third time, and you not giving them a legit chance, to me, that just sounds like you are stuck in an ignorant way of thinking, and I'm just simply here to help clear your mind.
Call me ignorant.
No, Acho. When they don't have a chance, and they did barely beat the JV on what was perceivably an amazing clutch run by Baker Mayfield to get a first down late in the game. This was a classic brain screwing by one Mike Tomlin. And that brain screwing was, we're not going to come into this game and play any of our horses. We're not going to show you anything that we have, knowing that you have to show us everything, because this is a win or go home scenario for you. You cannot hold anything back. Try to play the game the way that we're playing it, and we're going to beat you. Your best shot was barely good enough to win this game. You're running trick plays with Jarvis Landry to get into the end zone. You're hoping that Mason Rudolph does what he does, which is didn't play up to the standard of what a starter is supposed to play at. And you had to still show us, what are you doing on defense? You still had to show us, what are you doing on offense? You still had to show them, what are you doing on special teams? So now, with no rest time in between, the Pittsburgh Steelers get to look at the film of what Cleveland is going to do. And they can't come and be deceptive. You know why? Because their coach isn't going to be there. They have to be true to the DNA of who they are coming into this week's game, and that DNA is going to be on film from this last game that they just played. I don't give them a fair opportunity. I don't give them a real shot. If they were to give me something different on this wild card, this first weekend of playoff games, God bless, they would have proven that they are a different team than what I thought. But I told y'all many, many weeks ago, many shows ago, that Baker Mayfield, as well as he has played, and you've shown your full screen stats, he's still a lapdog, and I have not been convinced otherwise that lapdog can come off the lap and go up to the gate and run the mailman or the delivery man up out of the yard. I just don't buy that.
Man, I done have some takes that people have responded to, including one yesterday. I know who you are. It's all good, big dog. But guess what's so crazy? I've never called somebody a lapdog, but that's the best. I'm going to have to start using that one. Kind of insulting there, but it works. Let's talk about the fact that they don't have a legit chance. Acho. Oh, my God. You act like just quarterbacks are playing in a football game. The ultimate team sport. All Acho has is one full screen and some hope. And that one full screen is nothing about the team. It's about Baker Mayfield of late and Ben Roethlisberger of late. And that's just not going to be enough. Let's be real. Do you trust Mike Tomlin? Or is it Mike Prefer, whoever? That's my point. He's a special teams coach that is now going to be coaching the Cleveland Browns, and no one knows his name or how to say it like me. So do you trust Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season, or that guy? Okay, what about the defense? You trust the Cleveland Browns defense or the Steelers defense? That was number 3 in scoring this season. Led the NFL again with 56 sacks. 4th straight year they've led the NFL in sacks. What about the NFL leaders in quarterback hits? So even if we don't bring you down, we still going to touch you up. What about the fact that they're tied for the most interceptions in the NFL? Allowed the lowest passer rating by opposing quarterbacks in the NFL. Meanwhile, Baker Mayfield has the second most interceptions since he entered the NFL. Oh, my God. Collision course. This is all this is. The inevitable will occur. My last point is this, Acho, talking about the combines, because I messed up my 40 at the combine. It's so crazy. I ran slow as hell. Mike Boyle was really upset because I didn't do what you did and didn't do what you said, which is warm up properly. And then they had us do that VersaFlex. Y'all remember the VersaFlex? Dog, I didn't have any legs when I went out there. Slow as hell, but I still beat you, LeVar, at any race, anytime, any day. I want that challenge. But all I got to say is I'm looking forward to watching this one. I'm looking forward to Monday coming back and laughing at what Acho thinks is going to be a contentious
good chances the Browns do.
Let me just say this. Let me say this, and I'm going to be done. Because y'all pluck from the low-hanging fruit, and I reach up high, and I go get mine. Think about this. Mm-hmm. In the game of football, the elements also play a factor. Do they? Do they not? Elements play a factor.
Yeah.
And bad weather favors a team that can run the ball or pass the ball better.
Depends on the quarterback.
It favors the team that's from that place.
That's used to it.
Bad weather typically favors a team that can run the ball better, since Marcel's is the only honest person on this desk. With that being said, it's supposed to be high of 36 at 8:15 Eastern time on that Sunday. Low of 22. Feels like I don't even want to go there. Now, the Steelers have the 30th best rushing offense, if I'm not mistaken. The Browns have the second best rushing offense, if I'm not mistaken. The game of football is the ultimate team sport. So if it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, and the Browns have to lean on a running game, you better believe they have the chance to run the Browns to a victory. Coming up, the Seahawks are set at quarterback with Russell Wilson. The Rams, not so much. We'll tell you if LA needs Jared Goff on Saturday to win. That's next. Peace, player.
That's next. Pick it up.
Saturday on Fox, Russell Wilson leads the Seahawks against Aaron Donald and the Rams. It's all part of Super Wild Card Weekend, Saturday at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox, the Fox Sports app. Speaking of that huge wild card game, Sean McVay said he won't announce his starting quarterback till the last minute. Smart coach. Jared Goff missed Sunday's game after having thumb surgery and was replaced by John Wolford Reserve, who helped LA in a must-win game in his NFL debut. Either quarterback will face a Seattle defense that has given up just over 12 points per game during their 4-game winning streak. So Acho, do the Rams need Jared Goff to beat the Seahawks?
Bro, at first glance, I said, wait a second, I think the Rams desperately need Jared Goff. Then I did some more research, I did some more digging, and I realized they don't need Jared Goff at all to beat the Seahawks. Now, I'm not saying that they will beat the Seahawks, but in the event they do, it's not like it'll be because of Jared Goff or the lack thereof. Over the last 8 weeks, Jared Goff, 8 touchdown passes, 9 interceptions. But the Rams are still 4-4. As I look at the numbers and I look at the stats, the Rams win when Jared Goff plays. They lose if Jared Goff plays. It really don't matter what happens as far as Jared Goff. Everything the Rams do is purely based upon that defense. Talk about the first matchup, Seahawks versus the Rams. Rams came out on top, not because Goff balled. Goff didn't have any touchdown passes. Still lost a fumble. But what happened? You turned Russell Wilson over twice. Second match, Rams, Seahawks. Now all of a sudden, the Rams lose 20-9. Jared Goff, again, no touchdown passes. Still struggled. This time, Russell Wilson had a little bit more success. The Rams, how they go is they go with the defense. Aaron Donald, best defensive interior lineman in the game. Jalen Ramsey, arguably, if not inarguably, the best cornerback in the game. I think what's more indicative of the Rams' success, it ain't got nothing to do with Jared Goff if he plays or not, is can they slow down and hold down Russell Wilson.
Wow, I disagree with you right there. No love for Jared Goff, huh? You were doing all your research. Not a lot to like? Oh, how about the second most wins since he's been with Sean McVay in the NFL, only behind Tom Brady? That's not a lot to like? Oh, you want to put that on Aaron Donald, who was there before Sean McVay, just like my man Jared Goff was, and was there before even Jared Goff was there. How were the Rams then? Oh, no, it's Jalen Ramsey coming from Jacksonville. Oh, no, never mind. It's not him. Oh, maybe it is something to Jared Goff. Look, I know his expressions look like, but guess what? His game doesn't. When he's paired up with Sean McVay, they get after it, especially when he doesn't turn the ball over. 4 games without a turnover this season. Guess what the record was? 1, 2, 3, 4-0. Jared Goff, if healthy, going out there protecting the football, is almost guaranteed success. Acho, you made the mistake of doing what a lot of people do. You overthought this situation. You were overthinking. You said, at first I was like, yeah, Jared Goff. Then I started to do some research. And I told you this before. Maybe I have to highlight this fact again. You have to trust your instincts. You have to trust your first mind. I told you that doctors have proven that the neurological response from your intuition, gut, I felt it, from your mind, cognitive thinking and overthinking it, is 6 million times faster from the gut than it is from the mind. Sometimes just trust what you felt, because that's all you knew. Jared Goff is the better quarterback for this team, and if Jared Goff is the quarterback for this team, they advance.
See, I don't really have much of a gut. I stay on my core. Like my thinking. You just banged on I think it's about the same. Here's a problem with that, bro, because I wanted to rock with you, but I just very simply can't. Think about how Russell Wilson is versus the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is versus the Rams versus when he plays everybody else.
Okay.
Russell Wilson versus the Rams. only puts up 18 points a game. Versus everybody else, 30 points a game. Versus the Rams this season, 1 passing touchdown to 2 picks. But the rest versus everybody else, 39 touchdown passes to 11 picks. Versus the Rams, passer rating only a 74 cell, but everybody else a 109.
He balls.
That ain't got nothing to do with Goff, big dog. Like, that has everything to do with
Aaron
can
Donald
you
and
slow
Jalen Ramsey.
down Russell Wilson.
Okay.
Now, I would say the 2 biggest people that slow down Russell Wilson, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. But when I look at it, bro,
Make my point.
the Rams beat the Buccaneers when Jared Goff played terrible. The Rams beat the Seahawks when Jared Goff didn't play well. But then the Rams messed around and lost to the 49ers and messed around and lost to the New York Jets with Jared Goff. So it's not a matter of, is Jared Goff going to go out there and ball? We need him to ball. It's a matter of, what is Sean McVay going to cook up, and what is that defense going to cook up? You brought to me the stats of Jared Goff with Sean McVay. Sean McVay's the magic ingredient. Let's not forget, Jared Goff was 0-7. Prior as a starter.
Jeff Fisher style. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
When 8 and 8
so when I look at it, is Sean McVay good? If Sean McVay ain't got COVID, as long as Sean McVay going to be out there, that's who the Rams really need to worry about.
I like that, except Sean McVay can't tackle. He little, too. He's fast,
Neither can Jared Goff.
Jared Goff can't tackle at all. I would take Sean McVay in a foot race, athletic ability, everything, Sean McVay. But the point is, he can't play. So when you're talking about Russell Wilson balling out on the Rams, it's because of the defensive issues against Russell Wilson. Fine. How are we going to make up that? We're not going to change our defense. We're going to play up to our best. And they've been playing good defense this year. The point is, we got to make sure our offense is there. Let's talk about the Rams' offense last week without Jared Goff. Let's just use that as our sample size. Did they score an offensive touchdown? Oh, I didn't see one. Did you? You're going with John Wolford reserve. I'll take a double. Okay. 1 defensive touchdown, 84-yard interception return for a touchdown. 1 safety and 3 field goals. But you want to run it back. And not just run it back in the playoffs with John Wolford reserve. In the playoffs against the Seahawks when Russell Wilson may start cooking again. Acho, I'm sorry. This is going to be an interesting one, but I think I'm going to prevail. Look forward to next week's shows. Coming up, the Dolphins say they're very happy with Tua. Let's see that. We'll tell you if they should be. That's next. Speak for yourself. You ain't got a gun, bro?
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Tua's coming off a 3-interception performance in last week's blowout loss to the Bills. He went 6-3 in his rookie season, but will have to go forward without offensive coordinator Chan Gailey, who resigned after 1 year.
Oh, dang.
Dolphins have the 3rd pick in the draft, but GM Chris Greer said they're, quote, very happy with Tua and he's their starting quarterback. So, Marcellus, I don't get why we got to have this conversation, but should the Dolphins be very happy with Tua?
Oh, yes, they should be. I'm interested in why we shouldn't have the conversation. Either it's just full agreement and we're going to just be in chorus, or you were like, this is absurd to even ask. They shouldn't be interested in knowing that. Let me do my part. Everyone calm down on this Tua hate. Look, this was a self-inflicted wound caused by the Miami Dolphins organization and yanking him twice in 4th quarters that created this controversy. But the dust has settled now. And if you look at it clearly, Tua is a baller, is a winner in our NFL. Let's compare him to my man Joe Burrow before the injury, obviously, and Justin Herbert, who lit up the world and is probably going to be Rookie of the Year. And if you look at these categories and these numbers, once again, you see who the winner is. It's Tua, because he has the 6-3 record. Everything else is comparable. Everything else is in the same world, except Justin Herbert. What the hell are you doing, superstar man? But still, Tua's right there, and then translating that into success and wins, Tua did an even better job than even Justin Herbert. This is a rookie who had no offseason, no preseason, and let's be real, it takes 2 years to fully recover from devastating injuries. The first year is just physically getting back and mentally trying to figure out, do I still have a 6th gear? And then the second year is trusting that you do have a 6th gear and go into it. This year, I looked at it as a warm-up rehab year. Like, he was playing with hip house money. Like, his hip was jacked up, and everybody's like, I expect everything. Remind yourself, the guy is coming off a devastating injury and still put up numbers. Without him being yanked, without the controversy, we will all be able to see and not take him for granted as well as he played this year.
I agree with that. That's why I think it was a silly question, because we singing in harmony right now.
Okay, good.
We got to remember, comparison to thief, joy.
Still it.
And Tua is a 22-year-old who made 9 starts on a 10-win 10-win team. I repeat, a 22-year-old quarterback that made 9 starts on a 10-win team. 10-win team that usually ensures you make it to the playoffs. First time since 2015 a 10-win team has not. So everybody has to pump the brakes. But this is what confuses me the most, is that now Tua's being ridiculed for exactly who we knew he already was. That's what I don't get about this whole situation.
Yeah.
I've heard people say, Tua, he's not that athletic. Okay, we get that he's incredibly accurate, but he's not that much of a risk taker. His size, he's not that imposing. His arm, so. Y'all, we knew this about Tua. And what made Tua great is exactly the same person he's showing himself to be in the league. What I don't get is how we're looking at the same picture, yet we're talking about one image in glowing, raving ways, and then we're talking about another image terribly. You brought up the numbers about Tua and Burrow. Tua was 6-3, Burrow 2-7-1. Tua 6.3 yards an attempt, Burrow 6.7. Let me park there for a second, because that's the biggest thing. Everybody says Tua doesn't push the ball down the field. Tua doesn't push the ball down the field. Burrow only had 6.7 yards an attempt to Tua's 6.3. So maybe we're just pushing a narrative about the fact that Tua doesn't throw the ball down the field, because statistics, which aren't opinionated, they're simply factual, they would say otherwise. Tua actually is more likely to throw a touchdown pass per his attempts than Joe Burrow is. So again, if you're just looking at the numbers, which have no feelings, the facts, which have no feelings, everybody should actually be more than happy with Tua, because all the rookie quarterbacks, he led to the most amount of wins, although it is a team game, but also his stats were comparable.
Yeah, I like the fact that you went down a lane that I think we should journey a little further. They're grading them on a curve. And I understand we grade on a curve based on performance. I'm okay when it's a meritocracy. Like, okay, grade them against Justin Herbert. And you're like, well, Justin Herbert's number 1 and Tua may be number 2 for your rookies. You could go Joe Burrow. All that's cool. But I don't like it when it takes that shift from performance-based grading to maybe likability, maybe storyline, other narratives that jump in and inject themselves into the conversation. It happened with the Hall of Fame. There's no way that Terrell Owens should have been a 3rd ballot Hall of Famer. But you know what came into the conversation? Other factors. We're now seeing it with the rookies. Other factors. Because when you look at it strictly by the numbers, you don't understand the gap in conversation of why Justin Herbert's here and Tua's in the trash. He's one of 4 rookie quarterbacks to start at least 8 games and win over 65% of them in the last decade. Hello, no love for that? Okay, I got more. First Dolphins rookie quarterback to have a winning record since when? Dan Marino. That's been a long-ass time, dog. They don't want to give this guy his flowers. That's fine. I don't know why Chan Gailey said one and done with him either in terms of that relationship. But I will push back on Tua, as I said a day or so ago. You can't be scared to strike out if you're trying to hit a home run. And I want him to learn that this offseason. Look, it won't be as virtual. Hopefully he could get some real snaps with his teammates, be in person, and really learn this system, a new system it looks like, going forward. But the point is, if he just conviction with the fastball, I don't see anything wrong with it.
But my issue is this. I don't like when we try to make people into people they not.
I like you too.
I don't like that.
You're
I don't
right.
like
You're
that.
right.
Because
You're right.
be real, bro.
Yeah.
Tua was never like really just a home run guy. Now at Alabama, we saw him throw some home runs. Remember the biggest play we all remember from Tua. He goes into the national championship against Georgia, looks a safety off right, throws a bullet left. But now we remember who he threw that to. At the time, it was only a sophomore, unheard of guy named Devontae Smith. You know, the same Devontae Smith that just won the Heisman yesterday? The first time receivers won the Heisman since a non-quarterback type receiver, talking about guys like Desmond Howard. So at the time, we were like, man, what a play. But now we realize, wait a second, that dude, Devontae Smith, is actually a dog as well. Drew Brees isn't going into the Hall of Fame because he's a big fastball thrower.
Yep.
Drew Brees is going into the Hall of Fame because he's deadly accurate. Brees ain't going into the Hall of Fame because he's some great elusive runner. He's going into the Hall of Fame because he's deadly accurate. I have no problem with what Tua is doing as long as he does what he does well.
Yeah.
And we keep trying to make Tua into Herbert, make Tua into Burrow. Nah, Tua, you be Tua. But my thing is, we're talking as though Tua was the quarterback of the Chargers and didn't really win no games. Or as though Tua went 2-7-1. 6-3. Deadly accurate, still push the ball down the field. Just give Tua time, and he'll show y'all exactly what he will do. Coming up, Another young quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, he announced that he's leaving Clemson and headed to the NFL. We'll tell you if he's good enough to save the Jaguars, assuming they take him #1. That's next. Speak for yourself.
My dog. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Trevor Lawrence, long hair don't care, announced today that he is leaving Clemson and entering the NFL draft. Go get your money, brother. Lawrence was in the college football playoff all 3 years with the Tigers, but as the expected #1 pick, he would join a Jaguars team that only has 3 playoff wins in 21 seasons. I know that. I was there. So, Acho, is Trevor Lawrence good enough to save my Jags?
Big dog, unfortunately, no. But I don't think any individual is good enough right now to save a collective organization. You talked yesterday about gravitational pulls, atmospheric pressure. You said stuff like that. But you have to remember, in football, the gravitational pull of an organization is stronger than that of an individual athlete. An organization can pull a great player down, New York Jets Sam Darnold, or it can pull a suspect player up, Sean McDermott, Josh Allen. Remember, the gravitational pull of an organization is typically stronger than that of an individual player. So when I look at Trevor Lawrence, I was like, yo, think about his amazing career at Clemson. I went to the Clemson record books because I wanted to just look at all the records that he'd broken. But there was usually one name above Trevor Lawrence in every statistical category. It was Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
And as good as Deshaun Watson was in college, he was great, won a national championship, dethroned Alabama first. As good as Deshaun Watson has been in the NFL, Texans only won what? About 4 wins this year. There's an image of him walking off the field with J.J. Watt. They talking to each other. Hey, sorry, we wasted a season, bro. We wasted a season. Why? Because in the NFL, one individual player is not enough to make up for failures elsewhere.
I like that. And we're going to say the same thing. I agree. He's not going to save the Jaguars. They need a lot in Jacksonville. They have players all around.
Got pieces.
But the organization from the top down is the issue. Let's talk about this organization as it's being ran right now. The front office is in turmoil in terms of changeover because if you look at it, Khan, the owner, is in a position where some are suggesting that he seems too busy for this business of running a football organization. Now, he makes his money owning Flexingate. You know what Flexingate is? Nope, me either, until I looked it up. They're into the metal and the plastic and the automobile industry and making the cars. It's a lot of money. Dude worth $8 billion. Has a lot on his plate, even in the sports world, to the point where people are saying, we understood when you said, let those who are experts run this organization. But then that didn't create a culture. And as you're saying and suggesting, the culture is what really matters most. To me, it's not who you draft, it's where you draft them. I looked at so many players, including myself. I was drafted to Buffalo, and I was thankful. And I was able to be cultivated and groomed properly. But I knew some other guys more talented than me, going to the wrong place. What had happened was I was like the 9th DN drafted, and some of those guys went to bad places and didn't have the same career.
Can we park there?
Let's go.
Can we park there? Because I think fans, unfortunately, if you don't play the game in college and if you don't play the game in the NFL, you're not privy to seeing the talent on a daily basis. You only see it once a week, maybe 16 times a year, but you're not privy to seeing the talent on a daily basis. Think about Marcellus, the narrative that so many people place around these first-round #1 overall picks. Jameis Winston, bust. Jamarcus Russell, bust. Sam Bradford, bust. Is it more likely that all these great college quarterbacks are actually just terrible, or maybe they went to franchises that didn't support them? Because typically, if you're the #1 overall pick, unlike the NBA, which has a lottery, you're going to a bad organization, a poorly run franchise. So I would propose that, you know what? Maybe Jameis Winston wasn't all that bad, or Sam Bradford wasn't all that bad, or Baker Mayfield wasn't as bad as we thought. Maybe it's just that these franchises collectively are bad. I'll give it to you like this, because this stat really blew my mind.
Okay.
The last 11 quarterbacks that were taken #1 overall, the last 11 quarterbacks taken #1 overall have a combined 11 playoff wins and 0 Super Bowls. Think about that, bro. Like the last 11 taken #1 overall have a combined 11 playoff wins. So maybe it's not that these #1 overall picks just aren't good. Maybe it's you have to acknowledge the franchise that needs more fixing than what just one pick alone can provide.
Yeah, I told you about how he's the second fastest owner to 100 losses in NFL history. What they got? In 9 years, 1 winning season. and 8 others 6 wins or fewer. Oh, you can go even further. Last 13 years, only 1 winning season. Yuck. It's a yuck situation. I understand what he's thinking. True power is in delegation. Like, if I'm really going to do this right, I have to have others out there enforce what I want. But there is no culture in Jacksonville right now as you look at it. So putting all of this on Trevor Lawrence's throwing arm is not going to save the day. It's other resources, to the point where there's going to be a growing conversation of maybe you shouldn't draft Trevor Lawrence and draft around him, because someone is sitting there that's maybe in a better situation in terms of their culture that may be needing a Trevor Lawrence and will give you a king's ransom for him, and that will help Jacksonville even more so. Coming up, the Bills are red hot heading to the playoffs, but Uncle Jimmy has the truth of what's going on in Buffalo. That's next. Speak for yourself. Before we go, the Bills are the talk of the NFL, but Uncle Jimmy isn't trying to hear it, but Uncle Jimmy's not available right now. So
I let you slide on one thing, Marcel.
No, you ain't let me slide on anything.
I let you slide on one thing because we got time. We got to bring it up. Jaguars have only won what? You said like 3 playoff appearances in the last.
That was in the read. That ain't what I said.
But you were on the Jaguars. So I feel like you got to take a whole lot more blame for that than just skimming by that.
Whoa. First of all, when you say Jacksonville Jaguars, you say paid vacation to my ears and my body. I was not what you see right now. There were the remains and ashes of a former player who was still active named Marcelo Suarez. I was a bum in Jacksonville, and they knew it, and they still wanted me because I brought more to the game than just my physical performance. That's all that was. I had an impact on the culture. We went to the playoffs, too.
You sound like the broke dude who don't even look good, who go to the girl like, I have an impact on this relationship beyond just looks and money. Like, you can't just love me for me. The game of football still is predicated upon impact, not your personality.
No, looks aren't everything in a relationship, and being a baller is not the only thing you need on the team. You need some guys that can bring up the morale or to keep things in perspective. I can imagine playing with you, Acho, because you lose your mind every single day you see some adversity. You're going to change it up. Acho going to shift. He's going to come with some big words. 3 of them will rhyme. And then all of a sudden, he's going to go out there and have an uncomfortable conversation. Guess what? Sometimes it's about action. Sometimes it's just about conversation.
That's the thing. I'm a poet at heart, so if I can make them rhyme,
you really are.
All things is about delivery. It's not what you say.
It's not what you say.
It's how you say it.
Right. And it's not how you see it, because we didn't see Uncle Jimmy, but that's it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.